Gran Turismo 7 reviews crash and burn. The initiative has lost the initiative. And a new Witcher game? Stay tuned for this exciting episode of the Campfire Gaming Podcast. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Campfire Gaming Podcast. My name is Rich, and I will be your host for this week's episode. With me, of course, as always, is the illustrious Matt. How's it going, Matt?
It's going good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty decent. I will say I am really excited because we get to announce something really cool, and that is we are going to be having a few bonus episodes over the next couple of weeks, aren't we?
Oh, snap. Yeah, we are. Thanks for reminding me. I would have forgot.
Yeah. So we are going to be, as many of you know, or maybe not know, we are very big Halo fans. I know it might not have seemed like it over the last few months, but it's true. We do really like Halo still. So we are going to be covering the Halo TV series. We will be watching each episode week by week, and we will be making an additional bonus Campfire Gaming Podcast episode specifically for what we have just watched. We will suffer through it so that you don't have to.
Yep. I guess kind of a review reaction type. I don't know. We haven't quite officially decided on everything we're going to cover, but yeah, really our thoughts.
Yes.
Probably more of our
we'll be doing a reaction.
Very opinionated. So if
very
you
opinionated reaction episode, yes. And it will probably be filled with spoilers galore. However, we aren't releasing these episodes until Wednesday, right before the next episode airs. So you have time to watch the episode before listening to our stuff.
Yep.
So follow along with us.
Yes, it'll be fun. It will be fun.
Yes.
Hopefully.
We might have a couple of guests on the show that are watching the show with us. With that said, be sure to visit our website, campfiregamingpodcast.com. There you can find all of our catalog of episodes, including links to our Twitter at CampGamePod, and of course, a link to our Discord, which we very much recommend that you come and join us so that we can play games together. We can, talk about how we like or dislike the Halo TV series or the next season of The Mandalorian, whichever we decide to talk about for any given day. But yeah, join us on Discord is what I'm trying to say. All right, so let's get into it. First thing that we got this week, Matt, is we have got some news about games. We are a gaming podcast after all, so we got a lot to talk about in terms of games and game news and things like that. But we did have something special for you Harry Potter fans out there, and that is Hogwarts Legacy. Matt, did you want to dive into what you saw at the Sony State of Play Hogwarts Legacy and give us some info about what you saw?
I will do my best. I don't hate Harry Potter, but I definitely always was that Lord of the Rings fan. So I will do my best to do justice for you Harry Potter fans out there. But yes, there was a state of play for Hogwarts Legacy. Some kind of interesting news came out of there. The good news is you don't have long to wait to play it. It's coming holiday 2022. Hopefully they don't delay it. But we'll see what happens. For now, it's coming holiday 2022. For those who didn't know, it's a single player action RPG. And, as I mentioned, not a huge Harry Potter fan, but it looks like it's going to be an exciting game. The big thing that they focused on and they talk about during the state of play was that they really kind of fleshed out the Hogwarts school, right? Because you like you do with any sort of like movie and stuff. I remember actually kind of similar stories when they were building the South Park games, like the Stick of Truth is right. You watch these things, you watch these movies or these shows, right? And you just see maybe these rooms. And I'm sorry, I'm not as I mentioned, not a fan, so I don't know what exciting rooms you want to see in Hogwarts, but it's like, how are all these connected? Where are these actually in the castle and blah, 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 right? Well, they had to think through all this and actually build out, all these rooms and connect them. How do they, work together? And along the way, they threw in a lot of cool little secrets. I guess each house has its own like common room that you go into. So
sure.
that'll be
just like the books describe, right?
Yeah,
And the
but I
movies
think
show.
I think there was one of the rooms because they focused on it. Was it? Oh, this is bad. Is it Slither? One of the rooms didn't. It sounded the way they were talking um, during the state of play was they've never kind of shown this common room before, so it was exciting that they were able to build one out for the game. So that's exciting. But as far as what you'll be doing, you'll be able to create your own witch or wizard. And then, much like the movies, the sorting hat will decide what house you join. So I imagine it's pretty exciting for Harry Potter fans to be able to have the sorting hat assign them a house. So, but during your adventures, you'll be able to uncover the dark secrets of some kind of like strange magic, um, uh, ancient magic that kind of shows up, I guess, along with. I guess it puts you on a what do they say here? Your ties to an ancient magic put you on the collision course with a goblin rebellion led by Ranrock, um, aided by his alliance with the dark wizard Victor Rookwood, who both present formidable threats to the entire wizard world. So, again, that kind of means nothing to me, but the way they talk about maybe Ranrock and Victor might be kind of big names in the lore. So hopefully that's exciting for you. Or if they're just made up characters, it's still a pretty cool idea there, with a Goblin Rebellion and obviously Dark Wizards. It's always an exciting time in
Mm-hmm.
those fantasy worlds.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, so I mean, just like walking through some of the gameplay that they did show off here. I mean, obviously, it's an action RPG is what they're going for, and it's really interesting that. See, I've never really played a lot of the previous Harry Potter games, but it is very like the combat is truly very action oriented is what it does
mhm,
look like it does look like they did nail that, where you have like different swishes and flicks of your wand to do like different spells that either like grab people or throw stuff or launch like some sort of a projectile, or do all sorts of like combinations. There's a lot of
yep,
combos in that. And just like a good RPG, I mean, they have like, I can't tell if it's like really like a leveling system, but they do have like talent trees and things like
mhm.
that. Like you'll be able to allocate points to like your stealth or some of your abilities and things like that. That's some of the things that I did notice. So it looks like it's going to be a very story driven narrative. So it's not going to be like, it doesn't look like it's going to be like an open world game per se, but like it'll be very linearly story driven. Um,
It actually sounds little bit open world. But to quick comment too is like, yeah, it really sounds like you're going to be able to customize your play style but on abilities, talents, and skills. And if you want to be a little bit more offensive or defensive, you'll be able to just kind of cater your different spells. And I think there's things like potions and all that fun stuff in there. You'll be able to cater that and weapons to whatever your play style is or how you want your wizard or witch to be, which is again, that's kind of the RPG root of the game.
mhm.
But what was kind of neat, and again, I don't know how extensive this is, but as much as I mentioned, they kind of really had to figure out and develop and design like how is Hogwarts laid out. They also kind of pieced together a this is sad. I don't know the world it's in, right? But the area where Hogwarts is, they built a lot of area that you'll be exploring and going to do missions out in the world around Hogwarts. And what's really cool is I think any game that does this is that there's going to be dynamic seasons and weather. Again, to me, that just adds to the immersion of any game that's able to do that
Mhm.
well. They kind of showed a little clip of how that's going to work. I'm always hesitant to give too much props to a game that says they're going to do it till I actually see it, because sometimes it can be pretty lame. But it's
Right.
still pretty cool that they're doing that. But
But
yeah,
I
you'll
mean,
be able to
here's the thing
explore
that,
the
right.
world on a broomstick. So yeah, and a whole bunch of missions. Again, this doesn't mean much to me because it's been years too since I've seen a movie. But you'll be able to visit Hogsmeade. Isn't it the town you kind of they came in that train?
No,
Or is that, or I don't see it again. Again, they kind
that
of
came
talked
in
like it was
on
important, and I couldn't remember. It's been so long since I watched the
it's one
movie.
of yeah,
So
it's one of like a neighboring town or something like that.
yeah,
I don't remember it super well because I haven't seen the movies in like 10 years. But I mean, one of
hmm
the things I did want to comment about that, um, and it's not just broomsticks either. I mean, you can do stuff like you can ride on like what looks to be like a griffin or something like that. One of the things that I really do appreciate about this whole thing is that a lot of this game doesn't look like empty promises, mainly because we're seeing a lot of gameplay
hmm
here. a ton of gameplay. Like they showed off the changing seasons thing, and it does
Yep.
look really good. One of the things that I was really impressed about is like you can build like a whole like house. Even like you can build a house, you can like set up a bunch of crafting stations and things like that. Like there is like crafting components and things like you can make like potions and do like herbology and things like that. Like
Hmm.
this game is pretty deep, even for
Yeah.
like a major movie franchise game. Like this is a deep looking game.
That'd be kind of funny if, as I mentioned, I was always more of a Lord of the Rings fan. Is that like if this game is that cool and it's the game that actually gets me into the Harry Potter world?
I mean, that'd be hilarious. I mean, I don't have a PlayStation, so I don't know if I
Yeah.
can play this. I don't know if it's coming to PC or not. My guess is
Yeah.
no, but
I don't know. I didn't. It was on the state of play, and I didn't even think about that.
right. But I mean, to go along with like the whole, selling the whole idea of being in the wizarding world, like is the game looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
It does look really, really good. They definitely did a really good job of selling that atmosphere and that like you are part of, like it looks gorgeous. Hogwarts looks like how you would probably imagine it looking beyond just
Hmm.
knowing what it looks like from the movies. So it does look like this game is really big. It does look like it was a really ambitious project.
Yeah. No, again, I'm intrigued to see more of it. Who knows if I'll ever play it or if I'll ever get into it. But from what they showed, it was impressive, and I think any fans that we have listening that like Harry Potter, definitely go check this out. I'm
Yeah,
sure there's a lot to like here, from a fan's perspective.
right, right. And this is going to be coming out holiday of this year.
Yep,
At least that's when it's current like when it's currently slated for, right?
yep.
Like you said, barring any, delays or anything like that.
It's hard to get excited about dates anymore because a lot
Usually
of
they just get
games.
delayed, yeah.
Yeah. Um, but this looks like it's potentially in pretty good shape. So, again, barring any major issues. And I'm also assuming the reason they left it holiday 2022 is it gives them about 3 months to, narrow down like, oh, hey, maybe we do need a couple extra weeks. We can, we haven't set a date yet. Let's push out what our internal release date out a couple weeks. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
but yes, it's exciting.
It is. You know what else is exciting? Starfield.
I'm
That
excited
was
for
a
this
that was
game.
a choppy transition, but you know what? I'm gonna go with it. But yes,
I liked it. I
um,
liked it. I think it's
wrapping up
good.
sort of the Hogwarts stuff, but we're gonna be moving into a game that I know that you're probably really excited about, and that is Starfield. And a lot of people in our Discord are also very excited about Starfield because they definitely got a little bit buzzing when we got the information that we are going to be sharing with you now. It is going to be coming to Xbox Series S and X and PC on November the 11th of this year. So 11/11/22. That's a cute little date.
I think Todd Howard really likes
He really likes 11/11. Yeah.
11/11. Yeah,
Yeah.
it didn't work out as good for him this time with Skyrim. It was 11/11/11, but hey, what
Hmm.
can you do?
Yeah. So I mean, we got a little where we got episode 2. What is this? Episode 2 of into the Starfield. We got some new information about that. We got they just dropped some information like they scanned in real world people to try and create that sort of photorealism to try and get the facial features and all
Hmm.
that in there. They described some of the factions that are going to be in the game and what you can do to join them. So things like the Freestar Collective, and kind of gave they have a lot of like concept art in in this video that they were demonstrating.
Yeah, no, it was really cool just kind of listening to them talk, and I obviously, since this is episode 2 of their little Into the Starfield, we'll probably get more of these like little clips, but yeah, they really dived in, as you were mentioning, to like a lot of the factions, and they didn't go into a lot of the companions, but they did announce or show off Vasco. He's one of your companions. He'll be a robot. So it was again not like a ton of information, but it's stuff that kind of makes me hopeful, especially as someone who's never really played a Bethesda game. I've always started some games like Fallout or some of the Elder Scrolls games, but I never really played them a lot.
Hmm.
This just makes me more excited because it's kind of as someone in our Discord said, it kind of reminds me of what Destiny was probably supposed
Supposed
to
to
be,
be,
right?
right?
But no, I mean it just
Minus the live service part.
yeah, they just make it sound like they're working really hard to make it like kind of a believable world with interactions with, like they're saying, a bunch of these factions, with a lot of your companions, and and as with a lot of Bethesda games, giving the player choice. There's no like kind of maybe there's a way they'd like you to play stuff, but like they were talking about how there's the Crimson Fleet, which are the pirates in the game. They're like, yeah, you could join up with the pirates, but choose to be like a good pirate or a neutral pirate. You don't have to be the kind of just runs around and murders everybody and steals a bunch of booty, right? So when they talk about this, it kind of gets me excited, because if it's kind of what they're promising, hopefully they're not a bunch of Peter Molyneux's just promising
Just a bunch of empty
everything.
promises.
Yeah. Or just overselling stuff. He was very good at that. Like, he's selling you an idea, but realistically what you get is a watered down version of whatever that was. But um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the photo grammetry that you mentioned, that's been pretty common in a lot of games recently, as far as like environments. I remember Battlefront 2, I think, was one of the first ones I noticed that used it. But it's kind of cool that they're doing it to what it sounds like. I don't know if it's the first game. I doubt it's the first game doing it. But what they're doing is, I think, for the first time for Bethesda, is they're doing it to humans, and then trying to make it more immersive, as far as using it for NPCs and companions and things like that. So
Mm-hmm. So the one thing I am going to just kind of stick on this one, though, in contrast to the game that we have just got done, in contrast to the game that we were just talking about, there's still not a lot of gameplay.
mm-hmm.
Um, we had an estimate of a holiday 2022 date for this Hogwarts game, and there was a lot of gameplay in it. They had a lot to show off. 20 minutes worth of video of just Hogwarts stuff.
Yeah.
The Starfield is supposed to be kind of one of their new flagship games, and yet again, we're not seeing a lot of gameplay. This has usually been a pretty big red flag for a lot of games, including Fallout 76, Cyberpunk, Halo Infinite. Like, they don't show off a lot of gameplay for a reason, right? So that is one, like, I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit on the hype train a little bit, in that while I am excited for a cool spacefaring adventure, like, I guess it would probably be some sort of an RPG like game. I mean, that's kind of the thing that Bethesda typically does. I do have a little bit of reservations in that we haven't seen a lot and they have a release date.
Mm-hmm.
So either that release date's going to get pushed back because it's not done yet, or they're, for some reason, they're keeping something very close to the chest, and I don't know why.
Yeah. See, I just thought, like, I mean, to your point, yeah, we really haven't gotten any gameplay of it. But my thoughts are, like, I'm going to start to worry if whenever Xbox does their E3 or Xbox Showcase or whatever happens in May,
Mm-hmm.
June-ish, July-ish, whenever they decide to start that, if we don't get a good chunk of video, and then the following game shows or whatever, like things like what is it, the German Gamescom, or the one what's the one over in Japan? I just forgot about the name. But like right, if we don't have those
Game
follow up
show.
shows that at these game shows where we show more and more of these things, then I'd probably start getting worried. For me right now, I guess my expectations are, the way it's going is they're probably going to show it at whatever kind of E3 showcase event they have in May or June, or again, I guess potentially July. And they're going to just kind of start their media storm then, because trying to think if there's any big Microsoft. I'm sure there is a few, but this is probably going to be Microsoft's biggest kind of game release this year, or holiday season, I should say. So I imagine the marketing team is just going to go crazy once they announce it. So
I mean, like I said, I hope so.
yeah.
I think Bethesda, bringing in kind of this new IP and trying something different, kind of completely, like, for what we know is something kind of out of the box for them, um, is always a good thing. The only thing like I said, like, I have my reservations because when we don't see gameplay, that's usually a pretty big red flag. I mean, even for Cyberpunk, I mean, we didn't see gameplay until I think like that year's E3, and it was a very, very scripted gameplay. There was very, very scripted gameplay. So it was one of those like they had a really tight loop or something like that, and it was like basically fake gameplay, so to speak.
Come on, you're supposed to blindly go into this knowing it's going to
I
be
know,
amazing. So
I
if
know,
it's not, you're let down.
right?
That's how this is the way.
This is the way. You know, you got to show me the gameplay, show me
You
the money.
pre-ordered it already, right? You pre-ordered it, right?
Oh, I definitely did not. I don't pre-order games anymore. Been burned
Unless
too many
uh,
times on that.
unless there's a physical thing coming with it, like something really cool. As I've mentioned before, like my Doomslayer helmet, I generally pretty much I don't really pre-order anymore. Or if I pre-order, it's like, okay, I know I'm going to get this game, and it's like a day or two before, and then it's like whatever, just so I can do the the pre-download of it,
Mm-hmm.
since everything's digital now. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
But speaking of missed expectations, we're going to be moving on to our next game. I know. Unfortunately, it kind of goes from skeptical to, yeah, this one's not doing so hot. This would be a story about Gran Turismo 7. They have just released patch 1.07, and apparently it has taken down the game for an entire day. And when you're playing an always online game, as you can imagine, there's not a whole lot of playing going on while you're playing your always online, while the servers to your always online game go down. So the development team behind this, I'm going to butcher this name. I'm so sorry. Katsunori Yamauchi, I think that might be it. I don't know. Released a statement on the Gran Turismo's website, basically addressing what had happened with the update, and so they have also mentioned about how the pricing structure for a lot of their microtransactions is also being addressed. Um, so to kind of get into it a little bit, here's a quote, an excerpt from his letter. He says, immediately before the release of the 1.07 update, we discovered an issue where the game would not start properly, in some cases on product versions of the PS4 and PS5. This was a rare issue that was not seen during tests on the development hardware or the QA sessions prior to the release. But in order to prioritize the safety of the saved data of the users, we decided to interrupt the release of the 1.07 update and to make a 1.08 correctional update. This is the reason for the delay. My sincere apologies for the late report, everyone. So apparently, yeah, they found an issue in 107, and so they had to delay 107 being actually out there until 108 came about, which then they were ready to basically bring the service back online. So that is not a good look, but I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense. Like if they found something that was really, really broken and they
Mhm.
released it out and it sounds like it was going to affect a lot of users' data, I'm sure that would have been way more disastrous than if compared to this. Um, that being said, though, they have a lot of microtransactions in the game. A lot of people are not super thrilled about that. The pricing of it is pretty steep,
Mhm.
and they've adjusted that. They've adjusted it a bit, and so they kind of addressed that in their letter as well. Um, and I can go into that a little bit here. He says, in GT7, I would like to have users enjoy lots of cars and races, even without microtransactions. Okay. At the same time, the pricing of cars is an important element that conveys their value and rarity. So I do think that it's important for it to be linked with the real world prices. I want to make GT7 a game in which you can enjoy a variety of cars, lots of different ways, and if possible, would like to try to avoid a situation where a player must mechanically keep replaying certain events over and over and over. So he's talking about, grinding mechanics, right?
Yeah.
I mean, one could argue, then why do you have microtransact? Like, why do you have like it's a it's a problem that was self-induced, right?
Yeah.
You don't want people to sit there and grind tokens or something like that over and over and over to buy these cars, yet you want them to have a variety of cars to play. Um, and you're going to
Yeah.
do that by microtransactions, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
that's so weird.
You're not supposed to grind the tracks to earn the in-game currency and get the cars for free. Only spending your time. You're supposed
Hmm.
to use your real cash money. Your hard-earned money.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
What are your thoughts on this?
I'm gonna take a little broader. Is I dislike any game that isn't purposely like something like an Apex or a Fortnite, right? Where that's an online game, right? So it doesn't need an online mode. But I'm gonna always shit on any game that like a racing game. Why can't I? People couldn't even just hop in themselves and play with the stuff they had to race a car. They couldn't play the game at all. So if a game doesn't have some sort of like offline mode and always has this always online for you to do anything, even things that don't require you to like play against people, it's just I'm always going to shit on a game that functions that way. Um,
Right.
I think that's wrong. I get it's probably a form of they probably use it as kind of a form of DRM, especially if there's heavy microtransactions in the game. There's probably a big reason they do this. But when I buy a game, especially with for me thinking in this case of a racing game, there's no reason I need to connect to the internet, especially if I just want to race around with the cars I've earned or bought. Right?
Hmm.
Save something locally. This should
And I
not be
bet.
down for. I think it was actually by the end of it, like 30 or 36. I'm trying to remember what I saw there. I think it was 30 hours that this was down. So it was more than a day.
Hmm.
Uh, so I just think that's kind of unacceptable for pretty much any game that isn't specifically like again, I get it. If it's a multiplayer game, that's all it is. If the servers go down, yeah, you're not going to be able to play your game, but it's a multiplayer game. But
Right.
something in the case of racing, or I guess the first one I remember that was a big controversy was what was that SimCity a few years ago, right? You're like, this does not need to be connected to the internet, right?
Hmm. Oh, I wanted to make one clarification. This is something that I'm realizing that I probably worded it pretty poorly, but when I say that they adjusted the pricing on it, they didn't adjust the pricing of the actual cars. They adjusted the pricing on basically they adjusted how much you get for the races to buy those cars.
They actually made it grindier.
They made it worse. Yes. They actually made it worse because
Um,
they reduced how much you actually get paid out for per race. So yes, like
mhm.
that makes no sense in his letter when he's talking about he doesn't want people to keep playing same tracks over and over and over.
Yeah.
Um,
In a way, they're making kind of the
right,
way it sounds is they literally are actually kind of trying to force your hand even more into spending world money, because now you can't even spend your hard-earned time, free time, to go grind out just a bunch of races to earn credit to get these. Again, this is also speaking with no experience with the game or how this is all set up. I'm only kind of actually I will kind of I was talking to a buddy the other night and we actually chatted about this, and he does have GT 7, and he says the rage on the internet about the grindiness and the unlocking and getting the microtransactions, he said, is a little overblown. Um, I kind of trust his friend. I also think he listens to the podcast, so I got to watch what I say. I'm just
oh
kidding.
there you go.
No, but he was saying it
It
a
was
little
just
overblown,
dramatic.
a little dramatic. But I mean, regardless, even with the information I have here, if they are reducing how much credits you get in a race, I still think that's pretty shitty and
Right.
shady.
Well, I mean, just going over some of the races that they have, by and large, yes, they have reduced credits that you've earned across the board. Um, there are two races, I think, in particular, where they did increase how much you gain from them. But I mean, all you're going to do then is just make people grind a different race. Like that's just
Also,
how this kind of stuff works, right? I mean, like you're going to take the path of least resistance to try and get the cars that you want. So you're going to keep playing the same race that gives you the highest amount of dollars for the time
let's
you spent doing the race so that you can get what you want.
let's also throw it out there again. No experience with this game or these races, but I guarantee you, the races that they they made that drop or give you less. Again, I'm calling them credits. I don't know what the in-game currency is.
Yeah,
The
I don't
the
know.
races that give you less credits now are probably the ones that are easier,
Yes,
easier
fast.
tracks or
Yep.
faster, right? And the ones where they give you more are the harder ones, and the ones that take, 10 minutes to complete the race as opposed to 3 minutes or something like that, right? So again, they're probably making it more grindy, even though they're giving you more credits. It's like, yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
probably still pretty shady.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just, and this is their, I mean, this would be the justification for having an always online service, right? Is that
Mm-hmm.
because you want to like deeply ingrain this currency system into how the game functions. If you want to buy new cars to race around in, you have to sit there and grind your ass off, or you got to pony up some of that dollars that you got so that you can, ride in your new whip. But
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Or what's going to end up happening is that what just happened is that you get review bombed, and that is exactly what happened. Is that people
Mm-hmm.
have been pissed, and I don't know. I think rightly so. I mean, if they're like, I agree. Like, yeah, sometimes online communities can take it a bit far, and they can get a bit dramatic. I'm not
Yeah.
saying like we haven't done that ever. No, never. We've never
We've only
overly
said nice things about Battlefield and
game.
Halo.
Yeah, and
Anthem and
Anthem
Google
and
Google Stadia. Okay,
Stadia
this
and
list is a lot longer than we thought.
Fallout 76 and
Yeah,
Blizzard games. Okay, I'm gonna stop there.
yeah,
No, we never do that.
yeah.
So I can understand why the review score for this game has gotten quite low, because people are pretty upset about this. How grindy this game is and how unfun that grind makes the game.
Mm-hmm.
Totally understandable.
When I wrote the notes for this the other day, it was at a Metacritic score of 2.2. I just pulled it up here now. It's at 1.8. So
Ouch.
it's yeah. I have no clue what it was before. I don't know what the user score was prior to all this going on, but it has 4,170 negative user reviews. So,
yeah, that's going to be a hard one to recover from.
also to give you kind of the other side of the story, and again, these get we'll call them professionals. I'm using air quotes, but critic reviews. There's not a single negative review. So, and that's at an 87. So, yeah. So two different stories there. But again, your critics are not going to go back and update or review bomb. Or if they are, they're probably showing up as user reviews so that whoever hires them are not going to fire them.
Right.
But yeah.
All right. Well, that's all we have for Gran Turismo. Unfortunately, that game's not doing so hot. However, we're gonna sandwich this with some good news instead.
Yeah, I like this next bit.
I bet you were excited about this. I still have yet to play any of these games or even watch the TV series, if that is a hint at what we're about to talk about. But an announcement was made that there is a new Witcher game in the works. What?
What?
I think we probably said that in the intro, so I think that's
Yeah.
kind of been spoiled. Anyway, so yes, there is a new Witcher game in development. It is going to be the latest and greatest Witcher game. There isn't much. It's a lot of what we got is that we got a cool picture of a what looks to be a helmet with some ears and some glowing red eyes. You got to tell me what this is, because I have no idea what this is. And all it says is a new saga begins.
Yeah, so it's actually funny. We kind of already knew there was a game in development. I think it was one of the earning calls. They was kind of how it came out. They had to mention they were working on this. But yeah, no, this is they have no official title for it. I think it's kind of unofficially, Witcher 4. My thoughts are is it's probably not going to be about Geralt. There is a chance, I guess I would guess that it might be about Ciri. But yeah, what you're seeing in the picture is like the Witcher medallion. It's got some kind of magical properties. But the thing I was actually reading today, I didn't pick this up as I was reading the article yesterday when the news broke, is people, the eagle-eyed people of the internet, as we all know, there's plenty of them. They spied that it looks very much like a cat. So it was kind of confirmed. I forget who it was. I couldn't find the tweet. I saw it earlier today. I couldn't find it again to reference it here. But somebody that works at CD Projekt Red confirmed to somebody that asked on Twitter if that was a cat, or I think more specifically, I think it's a lynx. And he said yes. So there's a very good chance that this will actually have to do with something to do with the school of the cat, there's different schools with the
Okay.
Witchers, right? Which again could mean something that involves Ciri. She was kind of one of the main ish characters of the show and the books and the previous games. So yeah,
Gotcha.
so
Like
exciting
the
news
Apple
there.
Assistant.
Yeah, yeah, that's Siri.
Got it.
But no, you should definitely play the games. Read. I'm sorry. I'd like to think I'm a decent Witcher fan, but I've never played Witcher 1 and 2, or I think there's other smaller games. I've only ever played Witcher 3, and I also was realizing as I was reading this, I need to go back and play the DLC, which are supposed to be awesome. I do have them, just haven't gotten around to them. But you
And
should
you
play
call
Witcher
yourself
3.
a Witcher
Yeah,
fan.
you should play Witcher 3. It's a ton of fun. It's so good. I think it's one of the first open world RPGs that takes a ton of time to play that I've actually beaten in a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I had 104 or 124 hours. I don't know, something. I know it's a big 20-hour difference, but had a lot of time into it, and it's definitely worth it. The books are really cool. The show, again, I've said this before. I'm just catching up on a ton of shows right now, so I actually have not seen season 2 of The Witcher yet. Again, mixed things there, so I don't have a personal opinion on that one yet. Try not to read into or form opinions before I get to watch it. But yeah, you should definitely get into the Witcher universe if you like fantasy. It's a ton of fun. It's really cool. And that's not all. We got a little bit more information here.
Oh, that's true. Yes. Well, at least we got some information regarding what they may not do, and that is make this an Epic Game Store exclusive. Which is good. I mean, that's okay. Sweet. I'm happy
But why
about
did they
that.
come out and say that?
Because they're using Unreal Engine 5. That is what is happening, yes.
Yep. I think this is a big move. I'm not super familiar with Red Engine. I believe most or all of the CD Projekt Red games have been developed on the Red Engine, I believe, which is an in-house engine.
Mhm.
But they're one of the many studios now moving to a third-party engine, in this case, Unreal Engine 5. So that could be exciting. Again, it could also be a little bit of insight into, as we obviously know, some of the troubled development of CD or Cyberpunk 2077. So we'll see. I've always been one of those people that have kind of argued and seen some pros and cons. That I know I've already, I think a long time ago when we discussed it, argued there could be an upside and a good reason to EA pushing to use Frostbite. All their studios using Frostbite. The execution and how they did it, I think, was what was done poorly. So
They had no support. I mean, that was a big
yeah,
reason too, is that, you had teams who were developing who are developing here in the US and Canada, and I believe the Dice or the Frostbite engine team is, oh god, I don't know what country they're based out of, but it's
yeah.
somewhere in
Where are
Europe.
they?
I don't know if that's Norway or if it was, I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember where the Frostbite engine team is from.
Trying to look it up here.
But you have support issues with that, and they're trying to work on their own stuff. So I think using an engine that is widely popular, not just popular, but very well supported,
Yeah,
something like Unreal Engine 5 sounds like a good idea for a lot of use cases. And not only that, but I mean, like, if you do have a team of really good engineers, I mean, Unreal Engine 5, you can dig into the code for Unreal Engine 5 and modify it as you need. Like, it
yeah.
is, it is modifiable, so you can, tweak it to how you need. If you need a little bit of extra horsepower in some area, or if you need a feature that isn't there, you can do that. So that is what's nice about how that engine is supported.
Dice is located in Sweden, but yeah, no, I think as far
Sweden. Yeah.
as EA, yeah, that was my argument and why I always said it was poor execution. Had they kind of dumped the money into building out essentially an Epic Games, you just make Dice the engine company. I mean, you could probably split it between the people who still want to make Battlefield and the people who want to work on the engine, but yeah, had they basically tried to make it essentially a third-party product like Unreal Engine and had a huge support team, I think it could have been a good decision, but that didn't happen,
Yeah.
as we saw with Anthem, because if it was to believe via the Jason Schreier article, I think it was FIFA got all the support and BioWare got nothing. And that's where a lot of the struggles and problems came with Anthem,
Right.
and the poor development of that game.
And I think there's a good I think there's a good reason to start commercializing your internal engines. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's not a lot of, it doesn't seem like there's really a lot of not a lot of technology that seems to be hidden from anybody else, and everybody kind of knows some trade secrets. Maybe not all of them, but in general, I think a lot of game developers kind of know how to do one thing or another thing that other game developers are doing. And so they can utilize. I think trying to sell your engine is a really good idea. Honestly, I really wish that id would make their engine available, because I would love to work with it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be sweet. But
They used to have a
same with Source. If
level
Source 2,
editor.
same with Source 2, but I think that's only still accessible through the Hammer editor.
Yeah.
I think. I don't honestly know that if
I thought
Source 2 is available.
What are we on? id 6? I thought
It's
id
like
5
id Tech, it's like id
had
Tech
a
5 or
level
6.
editor. But yeah. No, again, I think if EA had done that and kind of essentially made their own internal, again, it would have been their own product, but kind of like that almost third party engine,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're able to build that to support the multiple different games they use, and support those teams. Again, that's where my argument was, that would have been a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also could have sold it out potentially like Unreal Engine 2, but that's
Or
not the
the
way it
Cry
works.
engine, right? I mean,
Or Cry
Crytek,
Engine.
yeah, they
Yeah.
made their engine available.
Yeah. No, it's exciting.
It is exciting. Are you yeah, other than that, we don't really have any more information about The Witcher, unfortunately. We just know that it's coming. So be on the lookout for that. Maybe it'll show up at one of the trade shows coming up in the next few months.
Yep.
So moving on, we are diverting a little bit from games. Actually, no, we're not. We're gonna jump into the one big piece of news that's game specific related, that I think we're both pretty excited about. That's Hell Let Loose, one of our favorite games currently to date, and one game we play fairly often with one another. If you jump in on our Discord, you can join with us, and we can have good times in World War II. But Hell Let Loose is getting an update number 12 to be more precise, and this looks pretty solid. So far, what has been revealed is that there's going to be a new map. Taking place during the Allied invasion of Germany. I believe the map is called Remagen. They have a cool screenshot here. I know that this is I know that this is a podcast and you cannot see the screenshot, but
I think I shared it out on Twitter. So if you're not
did
following
you?
us, here's a good time, a good reminder.
They rebuilt one of the big castle-looking bridges. One of those that big bridge that kind of one of the big railway bridges. And it's got cool trenches and stuff like that on one side. I mean, it looks like this map looks fantastic. I like how they also included like a screenshot in game and what it looks like in real life.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so cool. Like they took old black and white photos from the time period, and yeah.
That's one of the cool things about Hell Let Loose and their map design. Obviously, it's a video game,
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to do everything one-to-one, but pretty much every map in the game has started out as a topical whatever. They've taken a topical graph map or whatever, and they've designed the maps that way. So, and a lot of the locations in those areas, with the, what is it, like Omaha Beach and Hurtgen Forest, a lot of those things are, again, real life locations that they kind of turned back in time, and then obviously sprinkled their own, it's a video game, so you're going to modify some stuff, but yeah, this is kind of based on this area in Germany and this bridge that was fought over late in World War II, and I am both excited and scared to play this new map. It's going to be a freaking meat grinder
on the bridge. Yeah.
Those of you that have played this game or are familiar with this game, there's rivers and streams and things like that in the game, but there's usually multiple ways across. And granted, this is still in development and they didn't give a lot of information, but right now the bridge is essentially the middle point in the map, and it appears right now it's the only way to kind of essentially move into the enemy territory, I guess, depending
Right.
on which team you are. So it's going to be just a big choke point that is just going to like,
And not
yeah,
just that, they've set one of the capture points to be the middle of the bridge. Can you
yeah.
imagine how much of a nightmare that's going to be to try and cap
That's
that
the
thing?
middle point, the middle capture, and
It's
it's
the
just
middle
like
capture.
it's just going to be very interesting to see how this plays. Again, it's I'm again excited and scared. I'm
Oh, I'm
It's going to be
excited.
interesting.
I'm
Yeah.
excited because usually with these big updates like this, they also come with like, they might have like new sounds or models for something,
Hmm.
or they might have, of course, a lot of bug fixes. They might have some like
Yep.
system tweaks and all that. Like every time, the team behind this game releases a big update, it is always just loved. Like I've loved
Yeah.
every single one of these updates because they just do such a good job with releasing these.
Yeah, I'm hoping too that as they get closer to launch, we'll obviously learn more and more of the other things they're going to be hopefully adding or updating. Something that they have been doing slowly over the last couple months is even updating some of the older maps. Right?
Hmm.
There, I don't follow as closely, but I did watch a video the other day of some of the maps we've played. I think Utah Beach was one of them. They've kind of moved some of the points around and some of the areas that are a little harder to reach because like a ton of barbed wire, they'd remove some, right? So like they are slowly going through and not only, adding to it almost feels a little, it's not live service. It's good to know that they're constantly improving the game, and making small adjustments, to maps and things like that. So if there are problem areas, hopefully, I'm sure not all their changes are perfect, but hopefully that, at some point the maps are only going to get, better, and they're
Hmm.
getting slightly tweaked. And I know one thing they talked about way back was, they built, I think it was Stalingrad and Kursk, and some of the stuff they learned while building those maps, they went back and changed. Again, this is kind of where kicked off changing some of the older maps, kind of updating them to
Right.
kind of current standards and methods of designing a map, especially
Hmm.
since this game has been in development for 4 or 5 years. it's
Yes.
it's officially released, but it was in
Right. It was
early
an early
access for like 3
access.
years.
It was an early access since like 2018, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm excited. In
This is one of those games that we kind of go to as kind of one of those like good examples of early access
yeah.
because they've done such an incredible job of maintaining this game and like keeping extra content coming and fixing things and making the
Hmm.
game, and the game is just fun on its own, right? Like they had just such a solid design with this game
Yep.
when it came out to early access. It's just, yeah, it's good. You should buy it. Buy it right now and
Come
come
play with
play with
us.
us. Yep.
I'm always looking for new people to play with.
Yep. Join our Discord. Join Campfire Squad. That's what we're all about.
Yep.
Uh,
Uh, I did want to mention before we move on. Were you done there with
yes.
the Hello Loose? Okay.
Yeah.
For anybody that might be buying this and playing this on console, they are again. I think another good thing for some props to this team is, um, they as of last. I forget. Did console launch the same time as PC last year? Like, I'm trying to remember what the timeline. Anyways, this game is also out on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. Um, and I know console players have been not too terribly happy with the rate at which improvements and things are coming to the console. They did put out an update alongside with this one that they are working towards bringing the console version up to parity with the PC version. Their goal, hopefully, over in the next year is to bring that up to matching with the PC so they can kind of just develop the game together. I think it was last week we talked about Elite Dangerous found it hard to do that. So obviously,
Oh,
this is
right.
it's not easy to keep two separate code bases or kind of two separate platforms like this. So, the fact that this is out on those consoles and right now they are trying to work really hard to bring parity to consoles, it's pretty awesome. So, again, I suggest you play it on PC if you can, but if you can't, go pick it up on console. It's a good time.
Absolutely. All right, so that will conclude our games section of the episode. We're going to start moving into some of the publishers and studios here. One of the things we wanted to talk about first, we don't have to go into super big depth with this, but Midnight Society. This was the studio that was founded by Doctor Disrespect, the influencer streamer on YouTube, Twitch lawsuiter. I don't know if that's a proper word for it. The guy who's suing
It is
Twitch.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they are focusing their efforts on making PvP games because that's what Doctor Disrespect, of course, is pretty famous for, is playing a lot of PvP based games, notably things like Warzone. However, he's coming under fire a little bit, or at least the studio is coming under fire a little bit because they have decided that they're going to be selling these founder access passes for the game that they are making that we don't know really much about at all, in the form of NFTs. And I think, this, again, this is kind of that knee jerk reaction that when a lot of gamer folks hear NFTs, they kind of think, that's not going to be good. And I mean, I don't disagree, but um, yeah, so he's going to be selling 10,000 founder access passes in the form of NFTs at the cost of a low price of $50 a pop. So you'll be getting it. It's basically paying $50 to get into early access when it's available, and then you'll have access to various Discord channels. And I guess they're selling the like. This is what was kind of weird because originally they were talking about how they really wanted to be open and transparent about the design of their game, and then get a lot of feedback, a lot of back and forth between the developers and the people who are going to be playing the game frequently, especially those who get in on early access. But really what they're doing is they're selling out the ability to voice your opinion on these big decisions. But supposedly they're, you can vote on key design decisions in these private Discord channels. Supposedly, they're not burning down the environment with farming their NFTs or anything like that, so I guess that's a good thing or whatever. But yeah, so they're involving a bunch of NFTs with I guess an early access pass to a game that doesn't really exist yet. So that's where a lot of people are kind of getting rubbed the wrong way. It's like, why are you selling me something that doesn't exist? Like,
Yeah.
you're selling me something that doesn't exist in the form of an NFT, which is even more of a ugh. You know what I mean?
So, like, as I've said with most times that game studio or publishers kind of said they want to do something with NFTs, I still don't get we're using NFTs to solve a problem that's already been solved. But at least this is, I'd say, a little bit more unique way of doing it instead of just tying it to a skin like Ubisoft Quartz or something did. But it is common for NFTs to be sold in this fashion to allow exclusive access to things like Discord channels or being able to vote on stuff. It's actually a pretty common thing to do with crypto or NFTs in that world, the crypto and NFT and blockchain world. So it's not a huge surprise, and it's, I guess, at least nice to see it's being used that way instead of just here's a cosmetic. I was a little surprised that there wasn't, at least right now, or at least as of researching this, was there wasn't as big of a backlash compared to things like Team 17's
Oh yeah,
MetaWorms
yeah.
or Ubisoft Quartz. Or a few of the other things, companies that have done stuff. Now, that could be two reasons. There's no game out yet. I know Dr. Disrespect was pretty popular influencer, but Midnight Society and Dr. Disrespect, in the sense of them all working on this stuff together, to me, are not like they're not to say they're not popular, right? They're not right now. They don't have anything, right? There's
They
no
don't have
games,
anything.
there's no history, there's nothing. So I'm guessing their following isn't as big, and maybe the Twitter mob didn't feel like setting their sights on small fish right now when there's bigger fish to fry. Um, uh, but yeah, I mean, again, still with the whole unsure why you're using an NFT for something here. I'm wondering if the big reason why, as you mentioned, they wanted this to be kind of open, to get the whole idea is literally from day one. People are supposed to be able to play this, provide feedback, play test, again, all that fun stuff. I'm wondering if doing this 10,000 issuing 10,000 founder access pass and charging a dollar amount is their way of kind of sifting out all the noise, blocking out, like, right,
Yeah,
you're going to get the people that really care in theory, uh, to do to come in and join and voice their opinion, play test, instead of just getting random Joe to hop in thinking they're going to play the next best multiplayer game, realize it's only been in development 6 months and it's just bare bones, and then they're going to shit on it and tell all their friends about it, right? If you're spending $50 and trying to get one of 10,000 access founders access passes, you're probably, again, a little more invested. You understand what's going on. In theory, I know that's not always the case, but I'm wondering
right.
if that's why they went that route.
No, I mean I think that's exactly why they're going this route, because I mean just the stuff that you have to go through to even get a founder's pass. It's not like they just make 10,000 of them available and you just get to buy one. It's they're making 10,000 available and they're being very selective as to who can buy these.
Yep.
So there's actually an application process that you have to go through to even get the chance to buy it. Again, seems really weird, and in a it's just, I guess it's
So
not really weird. It's just it's a very different approach to how you would do things like beta testing or like a closed sort of testing environment. Like we've had
yep.
things in the past, like how Halo did their test flights, and it was that drove a lot of decisions to how um to give the feedback for the features that were being worked on. Supposedly what they're going with this is that they are trying to get a bunch of people who are very active in the community. Of course, if they're content creators, then they're going to, of course, get their special treatment, and they're going to be getting in those involved. You're going to be, uh, it's going to be based on how long you've been a part of the community in general. So it's being exclusive to being able to buy something to get into the place that you can voice your feedback, which is
Yeah.
suspicious. Like it's not okay, not suspicious. Yeah, like I said, it's kind of weird. It's weird, and I don't really
Well,
buy
I
into it.
I could tell you this. It triggered my curiosity, especially since I'm in the crypto NFT blockchain world. So,
Right.
I actually went through the start of, I guess, this application. Right, really, it was just a typical sign up, connect a couple of your social accounts, answer a few questions, and yeah, so I'm signed up. I don't know. We'll see if I get
Gotcha.
the chance to see if I get the chance to
Right.
buy one of these access passes.
Yeah. So the cynical
Again,
side of me says they're just trying to pull in some extra funding. Like
yeah,
it's yeah.
500,000, right? That's what it'd be if they sell all 10,000. The unique thing I will throw out there is, again, you don't need NFTs to do this, but it is kind of one of the arguments for using NFTs is things like this is, um, everything's going to kind of be associated with that NFT, right? Your account. So let's say you buy it, you participate for a month or a year or 2 years, and then you all of a sudden like, I hate this game or I'm done with this. You can sell that NFT and everything with that was associated with your account, any XP, any unlocks or cosmetics, if they go that route, are going to be associated with that. So you could sell that off, and somebody could buy that from you, which they actually do call out in their announcement here. Is that initially there's going to be a 30-day lockdown period, so you can't just buy and flip this at least immediately. You have to hold it for 30 days. So
But I'm curious how something like that would hold its value. I mean, like it'll hold its value as like. So is it going to be one of those things that like once you go through the founder's application process and you're selected to to pay one of these $50 tokens, and then you just go right and sell said token. I mean, they say that there's a 30-day lockdown period, but I mean, after 30 days, I mean, that's not enough to make the game like to
yeah.
make any big impact on the game. So then you just go and sell it to a bunch of random people who want to get in on this madness. Just decide, oh yeah, like I didn't need to go through the application process. I just bought this dude's NFT, so now I get to be part of the development crew. It just seems so
hmm
stupid. Like seems kind of
it's
goofy.
it's definitely, again, I think it's where it's kind of triggered my curiosity. Is it's going to be
Yeah.
interesting to see how all of that pans out, because they are going to be connecting, these NFTs will be available, the secondary market, via OpenSea, which is a very popular NFT platform for selling NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not like they're doing some regular Joe Schmo whatever platform. They're using OpenSea, but it's going to be interesting to see if there's any sort of like, if they sell out, and then if is enough drive there from people that they want this, or it could just die, right? Or they don't sell out, right? So it could be
Yeah.
like, anybody that is trying to, flip this. That's one of the questions during the application is, are you going to sell this? And it's funny, it's a yes or no. But before there was another question that had a text box, and I forget what answer I picked for the yes or no, you'll sell it. But in the text box above, I added to it. I was like, for question 18, you should have a maybe, because if I actually am able to get a hold of one of these and I start participating and I just don't like this at all, of course I'm going to sell it. But if I like it, I'm going to continue it and continue to provide, and I'm not going to sell it. So it's going to be interesting, just to see how this all pans out. See if it's just a success or if it's just going to flop. It's going to be interesting. Again, a big reason why I kind of, let's see if I get selected. See what
Right.
happens.
Yeah, I think it just seems kind of silly to me. Like it just seems like it's cashing out on a fad rather than just like actually trying to produce something tangible.
Rich, I know you're big in the competitive scene, so if I get a hold of one of these NFTs, I'll hold on to it long
You're
enough
gonna sell
until
it to
you're
me?
like, I want it, and then I'll sell it to you.
Yeah.
Depending on what the supply and demand is for one of those, though, um, if it's pretty low, I'll sell it maybe to you for that price, or maybe for the original 50. But if it's a couple thousand, I'll be selling it to you
Oh
for a
yeah.
couple
Well. Thank you. Thank you. I'll be sure to remember that when I'm trying to buy like my multi-$1,000 star citizenships and that
Yeah.
too. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Like we said, the NFT thing is going to be it's kind of a big thing this year. That's the big buzzword of 2022. All right, so moving on from that, this was something I was a little bit bummed about. Actually, is that I've been waiting for a Perfect Dark sequel for a really long time. I love Perfect Dark. Didn't really like Perfect Dark Zero, so I don't count that as a sequel. So when I found out that there is a team that is actually building a new Perfect Dark game, I was actually pretty excited. Until this news came about, where we found out that a lot of people are just leaving the studio and they are having turnover problems.
Yeah, it's funny too, because the what we thought might be good news, I think it was last fall, that Crystal Dynamics was being brought on to help out, which again
Mm-hmm.
is not uncommon. I think we said it
No,
at the time when we talked about it. It's like,
uh,
oh, cool, like they're great developers.
right.
This
It's like
should be even
certain
better.
affinity. Right. It's like certain affinity coming to help out 343 or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like
right.
this. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, you're just gonna build more cool shit.
Right.
But that might not be the case.
No, it just sounds like they probably just need help building it. Period. Because supposedly they've probably lost about 36 people, including their lead level designer, principal world builder, systems engineers, writers. Um, yeah,
It seems like a
just
lot of high level
crazy.
people have left, and
Well, it's
it's
like high level people, and it just sounds like more, I guess you could say senior level roles. Maybe not like high, like C, like not C level, like as in like capital letter C, but like, um,
which is funny because those are probably what it sounds like, the people that need to go.
yeah. I mean, that's usually like if there's if there's a set of people who usually have you could probably point the finger to.
I, I've
It's usually up the chain. Yeah.
I've said it here. I've called them out. Bonnie Ross, Kiki Wolfkill, and Frank O'Connor. I don't know if Frank O'Connor's a C level though. Anyways,
No, I don't think
whatever.
so.
Those three people, 343, need
I
to
thought he
go.
was like a creative director or something like that.
He's pretty high up, but
Yeah.
those people are, I think, the three main people running 343 over there, and they need to go. But anyways, yeah. Oh, this is crazy too, because this was I think one of the first, if you remember, supposed to be quad A developers.
Right. Yeah. They added in a whole other A to it.
Yeah, a whole extra awesome to it.
Yeah. Well, supposedly, people were citing that there's just a lack of creative autonomy, and that just the development process is being really really slow, and that's why people are leaving. Um, And of course, as you have lots of people leaving en masse like this, yeah, it's going to slow down the game even more. I mean, it's going to get
Hmm.
harder to get things done. So I don't know. Like, this bummed me out a little bit. I was really excited for a new Perfect Dark game, but it sounds like there are internal problems that are leading to a slowdown of Perfect Dark's development.
It's going to be interesting too, because I remember seeing. I don't know if they were. There wasn't a lot of information there, so I don't think we ever talked about it. But I think there were rumors that Perfect Dark would be shown this year at whatever E3
Mm-hmm.
type event it might. So it's going to be interesting if we still get that. It'll be interesting to see, really, I guess, how far out the development is on this, because it was 2 years ago, I think, when it was announced
Yeah, I think that's
or
when they had like
shown off,
it was
and
shown at E3 and like a 10-second teaser or something like that.
yeah, and the initiative I think was formed in 2018, I believe it was. So, and again, it takes time to build a studio and get talent and come up with something, right? I get that, but like, yeah, it's just going to be really interesting to follow this story and see what's up with Perfect Dark, because I was definitely interested in what the initiative was making as well. And again, excited when Crystal Dynamics was brought on board to help out. Although again, sounds like it was just help fill the seats and continue development, if they're only down to a few people. So
Yep. So that's a bummer. In other studio news, we got Haven Studios has been acquired by Sony. Did this come as a shock to you at all? This is Jade Raymond's studio. We know her from the Google Stadia platform.
and Assassin's Creed, she
And
was
Assassin. Yep.
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 I think at this point I'm kind of numb to acquisitions. So no, I'll say the way it's kind of surprised me was Haven, studio is brand new. They were, I think, like last summer, I think is when they made their kind of announcement that they're making a game.
Yep.
They did say they were partnering with Sony at the time to make a PlayStation 5 exclusive game. Um, but it was kind of a surprise that Sony went out on a limb and bought a studio that has, again, a lot of
No
talent, not
portfolio.
but no portfolio, right?
Yeah.
No, so it really sounded like they are very impressed with what the game that they're working on, that Haven Studio is working on. And it sounds, from what I was reading, is that Haven Studio, which this is good news if it's true, has been knocking it out of the park. Like I think hitting things like internal milestones before they're supposed to hit it. And I think any company where you have you're hitting milestones before your estimated dates, anybody's going to be happy. So I think Sony, this might have been what kind of triggered Sony to pull the trigger and buy the studio. But
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I wouldn't say I was surprised, but it was it was kind of interesting to see Sony pull the trigger on
I mean, do
picking
you
them up.
think that? I mean, we talked about it over the last couple. I think over the last couple of episodes, we've talked about how Sony has been kind of gobbling up studios that have experience in live services and things like that. Do you think that with Jade Raymond's experience with Stadia, that they're leveraging that as well, and maybe even more so than anything else?
They could, but the kind of maybe more interesting kind of thing, kind of association, I guess we could make, is that Haven Studio is making a live service game,
Mm-hmm.
and Bungie was purchased to help
Make live services, yeah.
make help, obviously get money from Sony to help make their own games, but also help Sony's studios build live service games. So uh you know again, I mean, yeah, Jade Raymond worked on over at Google Stadia, so I'm sure she has some expertise there
Oh, of course, yeah.
on that live service and kind of streaming stuff. So but yeah, it's I'm sure, yeah, Sony is probably trying to gobble up a couple of those studios that are familiar with live service and can make it happen.
Yeah, I think my bet, if I were to hedge my bets, it would be more so the live service thing, mainly because, like you said, there's no portfolio. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure that they're making some cool. Maybe they have some like really cool tech or something like that. That was leveraged from the knowledge of Google Stadia's platform and all that to make this live service game, and that's why they're trying to partner up with Sony. I mean, live services are, whatever, but I'm interested to follow this along to see where they go. I mean, right now we're living in a time where studios are being bought out like monopoly properties, so
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting to see who puts the hotels up first.
Yeah, it just needs to stop. Again,
I know.
I'm always, in a way, as we've said before, I'm always happy if it's a studio that it just makes it easier for them to know that they aren't living like paycheck to paycheck and can kind of build out their whatever creative dreams they have.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's always the scary side of, well, the big three, Microsoft and Sony are buying up all these studios, and then if you get the wrong creative person in charge that comes in and now starts telling them what they're making and what they should be doing, and then it's like, okay, that's kind of a scary future potentially for some studios. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've talked about that at length.
yeah,
All right, so moving on, we're going to talk about a little bit about some tech that is on the horizon. One thing is that we found out that xCloud is going to be available on the Steam Deck. That's pretty cool.
yeah,
Um, I don't think we could say too much about xCloud. I mean, I think you've had a little bit of experience with xCloud, but for the most part, we don't really use it that much. But I mean, that could give access to a lot of Game Pass library stuff on your Steam Deck. So if you have
yeah.
Game Pass, you could probably utilize Xbox or xCloud rather to
Not
play.
this. I think that's going to be the interesting thing because they're not the same
No,
library. Like obviously, if you buy
if you have the Ultimate,
Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, yeah, you'll
yes,
be able. Yeah, but again, not every game on there is streamable.
right.
But it'll be interesting to see if that connection is ever made, where it's just like, yeah, the entire Game Pass library is streamable. But I think this is a good. I mean, that's kind of the cool thing. It's one of the reasons we've always hoped that Game Pass would come to the Nintendo Switch. It's a great, it's a great device to be able to stream games to, where the Steam Deck, is, it's going to be a great mobile platform and being able to stream games to it. It's just another good use of streaming and the device itself for mobile gaming. So it'll be exciting. And the fact that it is Microsoft did help kind of implement it and get it working should mean there's going to be a little, hopefully more features or feature rich experience in the future. Maybe an app or something built right into I don't know what the Steam Deck OS is. That just Steam OS still?
Steam. Yep, it'll be Steam
Yeah.
OS. Yep,
So
or it is Steam OS.
yeah, I kind of took a look at the instructions on how to get this work. It isn't just kind of an easy kind of download and play type thing. The instructions to get Edge on there and working with xCloud is a little bit more intricate than that, but it didn't look too bad. So if you're a little technically savvy and you're okay kind of poking around some system stuff on your device, you should be able to get it up and running.
Yeah, doesn't sound like it's going to be too bad. And I mean, I know that Steam Deck is doing everything that they can to make compatibility work for everything across the board. So they're
Did
really
you,
trying to push that mobile gaming platform.
did you pre-order one yet?
I did not know. I
Are
ain't
you
got
going
that.
to?
Part of me really wants to, but part of me is like, would I ever actually use it? Probably
Yeah,
about as much as I use my Switch, which is when I go on trips.
that's kind of why I did the Switch, because you know the Steam Deck, it's going to be some of your Steam library, and it's like, well, if I'm going to play Steam, I'm going to do it on my PC. Or like the
Hmm.
Switch, I mean, yeah, you can hack and there's probably ROMs and stuff out there, but like it's easier to just play Zelda or Mario on the Switch, right? You can't, that's not in Steam. I can't just
Right,
do
I
it right
can't
on my
just do
PC.
that. Yeah.
So that's kind of why I was like, oh, I'll get that instead of throw some money at the Steam Deck.
I mean, to
If
be
it comes
fair,
down in price or I get rich or something,
it is it is a very impressive piece of hardware from the sounds of things.
when
Um,
here you go. I'll buy one whenever I get bored with the Midnight Society game and I sell my NFT.
there you go. You can sell your NFT to buy your Steam Deck if you get selected to buy one of those
If I get selected to
premium
buy it,
NFTs. Yes, one
and
of those
there's a
sought
market,
after. Yeah,
and if
and
there's a
people.
secondary market for that
I was gonna
NFT.
see if people actually want to buy that. I can. That would be the one thing I would imagine is that you buy those NFTs and they become worthless the second the game comes out.
It's I think really going to be dependent on the success of the game and Midnight society and how they
Yeah.
go about the community
Hmm.
contribution. But
Um, but I mean, speaking of interesting tech, Ubisoft has got their eyes set on cloud computing. So they have revealed that they have some tech that they have announced called Ubisoft Scalar. I think part of me thinks that this is kind of to compete. This is something that they're trying to utilize to compete with like a lot of Amazon's cloud computing. They're what they claim is that games using this is from Ubisoft in a press release quote, games using Ubisoft Scalar can use a virtually unlimited amount of computing power and thus run anything from virtual worlds of unprecedented scale and depth to vastly detailed simulations that wouldn't be possible otherwise. Sounds like a lot of marketing speak for it can compute a lot of things.
yep.
um, Other than that, there's not. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot to go off of here. I mean, they were just. It was a big marketing video about
Hmm.
cloud computing. They have some new cloud computing tech. They're utilizing microservices, which is like, okay. I mean, welcome aboard. A lot of us have been doing
Yeah.
that for a while. So,
Those of you,
um,
yeah, using Amazon or Azure or something like that. Yeah.
right, yeah. So I mean, like, I'm curious why they decided to go with developing their own cloud system rather than utilizing something like like an Amazon or an Azure if they really just want to try and be competitive in that space. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I don't really know a lot about like designing and developing cloud computing, but potentially if there was ever a need to make decisions based on video games, like making specific decisions on how you set this up, or you do this or that for a video game, is obviously definitely different than use cloud computing for some sort of business software, right? So there could be a
Mm-hmm.
difference there. But yeah, it's the video was kind of like, okay, you can do all like, I wish they showed some sort of an example other than just some balls on a map and then saying, well, with computing you can make it big. All I was just, being the asshole I am, all I was sitting through thinking about while watching this video. Apparently I can't talk all of a sudden. What I was thinking while I was watching this video was like, great, now they can just make bigger worlds filled with more points of interest, right?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah, they can make their open worlds even more open. Or
Yeah, it just more just garbage checklist stuff, to do.
right.
But yeah, I mean, to me, it's. I want to see how they're going to utilize it. How is it going to make the gaming experience better, outside of making bigger worlds to put more points of interest in?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so hopefully they go into more detail soon. A good example that never actually happened of cloud computing that would have been cool if it functioned the way it was demoed. If you remember Crackdown 3 way back, oh god, that was like 5 years ago. Remember the physics destruction and how that was all going to be cloud
Right.
computing?
Yep.
Like if they showed something like that off, but maybe they kind of hesitated because uh, Crackdown 3, when it did finally launch, took a lot of flack for the fact that like their little multiplayer mode, where was the only place that this level of destruction was at, was also really shitty because it didn't live up to the hype and what was shown or demoed a few years earlier. It was
Mm-hmm.
a really dumb multiplayer, and the destruction was not that great.
Right. And I mean, likewise, the even with this announcement, they haven't really stated that they're going to be tying this into any of their existing games
Yeah.
or any of their existing IPs, rather.
Oh, come on, it's going to be every.
I know it's Ubisoft, so it'll be every game, but it'll we don't know if this is going to be revealed with like an existing IP or a new one. I think it's supposed to be
I
um,
wonder if like I'm trying to think.
revolving around a new IP for
I
this
wonder if
stuff, but
it's Massive Entertainment, isn't that they're the guys who did the Division, and I think are doing the new Avatar game. Yeah, that's them. I'm wondering if this was either something. I wonder if this was something developed alongside of the needs of Massive Entertainment and obviously probably like any future Division games, but it'd be interesting if this was used in Avatar, the new game coming out. Because I mean, if you think Pandora would be
Pandora is like the biggest of open worlds.
it
Yeah.
would be the most perfect place to have a ton of points of interest. So being able to build a whole world of Pandora and throw those points of interest in there
And
could
throw
be pretty.
5 points of interest in it. Yeah.
um, yeah, so that'll be interesting. That'll be kind of cool when they finally kind of talk more about some of these future games, which I think we have a little tidbit later. So, um, yeah,
Hmm.
on Ubisoft, but yeah.
All right. That concludes most of the stuff that we have to talk about. You got any final thoughts before we move into the quick section?
No, let's fire through this quick stuff.
All right. So, to kick us off, Nintendo Switch, the 14.0.0 update is now available. So, if you own a Nintendo Switch, you can go ahead and download that right now. You can package. You can create groups now for your software on your Nintendo Switch. Which is kind of cool.
I'm
I think there's a whole host of other things that they brought about with this update as well.
I am so excited for this update. I've been needing this in the last month and a half that I've owned my Switch. I need a better way to organize my 5 games that I own.
Yeah, like the couple of games that you have. Yeah.
No, but it was one thing I did think about when I first bought it and realized how the UI was set up. I was like, damn, like they really need one of these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, I
Something,
agree.
some way to do it. But
EA Play Live, not happening. Not happening this year. So no EA Play. More than
that's
likely,
a
they're
real
probably
bummer.
just going to tag along with somebody else. One of the existing big name friends, like probably an Xbox event or another State of Play or something like that.
Yeah, I imagine if any of their games that are coming out or getting more DLC are probably going to be on like the Xbox showcase, or was it Summer Game Fest or something like Gamescom or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Along with that, though, Ubisoft is rumored to have their own event now. So Tom Henderson has reported that Ubisoft has around 20 games that they're talking about announcing in the near future. So this could be a really big year for open world Ubisoft games.
Could be a potential. I think they're still going with I think they're still calling it Ubisoft Forward. Who knows? They could rebrand it, but yeah, just kind of. I didn't put it in the notes there, but I just pulled up the site here. Just some of the games that are rumored to be part of this. Avatar, kind of already mentioned that
Obviously,
already.
yeah, that's
Uh,
obvious.
Skull and Bones, we've chatted about that in the last couple of weeks.
Another
Uh,
obvious one. Yep.
the Division Heartland, which was an expansion to, I thought it was Division 2.
Yep.
Immortals Phoenix Rising sequel, Assassin's Creed Rift, Assassin's Creed Infinity, Ghost Recon Frontline, X Defiant, Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake, a new Prince of Persia title,
Oh,
The Crew 3, Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Roller Champions Beyond Good and Evil 2. Again, another one we kind of came up
we haven't heard
recently.
from. Yep, we haven't heard about that in a while.
The Splinter Cell remake, the Division mobile game, and I think there was a couple of smaller mobile games too that were potentially in development as well. So if this is true and even like half those games, excluding the mobile ones, are actually going to be shown, it could be a pretty
Could be a pretty
exciting
thick.
event.
Yeah, the Ubisoft's catalog is going to be thick this year.
Yep.
All right. Moving on here. Reggie Fils-Aimé, his body is not so ready for the metaverse. He was speaking at an event at South by Southwest, and basically he said that, quote, Facebook itself is not an innovative company. They have either acquired interesting things like Oculus and Instagram, or they've been a fast follower of people's existing ideas. I don't think that their current definition will be successful. And he was speaking, of course, on Meta.
Yep.
So his hot take is there's probably smaller companies out there that are going to utilize a metaverse more creatively, and more than likely, of course, yeah, just like what Facebook is good at, they're probably going to just buy them up,
Copy.
or somebody's going to buy them up or copy what they do. Yeah, not a very innovative company.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, obviously Meta's the easy one to kind of be in people's face and can easily be in the spotlight just because of how large it is. But I kind of tend to agree with him as far as, not even him taking shots at Meta / Facebook in the sense that they just buy up interesting stuff. I mean, which is true, but like just in general, if I think a smaller business or company, studio, whatever, they're just going to be allowed to be more creative. So if the metaverse or this idea of a metaverse is going to be successful, I at least think the ideas are going to start there. Unfortunately, it could potentially be bought up by something like Meta, and then again, just like Reggie Fils-Aimé said, they just kind of acquire interesting things. But yeah, it was kind of good to hear from or hear Reggie's thoughts on this, because I think they are pretty true.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Borderlands 3 crossplay is being added to the PS4 and 5. So now they are finally the last horse is finally crossing the finish line there.
Yeah, I think it was last week we mentioned with Tiny Tina's that they were going to try to do it, and then a couple days later they basically confirmed it.
Yep.
I did not see a kind of a date on when it's going to happen, but it's going to be added at some point. If you know, or if you remember, there's kind of crossplay already, but I think it's PC and Xbox. Sony were kind of the holdout. Borderlands 3 launched in that time where Sony was being a lot more. They didn't want to play nice with people, so now apparently they are.
All right. Do you remember X Defiant?
I remember shitting on it because it looked dumb.
Yep. Yeah, neither do I. So Tom Clancy's name is getting scratched off of X Defiant, which is good because I remember talking about how that poor man is probably rolling in his grave by being attached to this game.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly the reason for them doing this is that there are factions from games outside of the Tom Clancy universe, which will be included in this game. Again, I don't think a lot of people care. Oh yeah, they like, and what they mean by that is that they have a lot of stuff that's like, like the Echelon, like the Outcasts and the Cleaners from the Division. They have stuff like that, which is from like I guess the Tom Clancy universe that they've sort of built, but they also have other things that are like trying to see if I can find it here if they have something else that isn't Tom Clancy related, but they haven't announced it.
I think the idea here is, one, in general, I remember when we were watching this when it was announced, was like this doesn't, again, why is the Tom Clancy name on this? This doesn't look any sort of game that belongs with that on it. It's not some, it just didn't belong there. So I think the idea here, though, too, with scratching it is now they can start bringing in their IPs. They can, hopefully, if the game takes off, they'll probably start trying to copy like what Fortnite does, is just create partnerships and put in, Thanos and The Rock and, what have you, Master Chief, again, they're probably going to start in a big way or probably one of the first things they do are going to be bringing in people, from existing IPs that they own that aren't Tom Clancy, so you'll probably be able to play as like Ezio or something and run around as an Assassin's Creed bro. So.
And last but not least, I have to cringe a little bit because I'm not ready for this sort of a thing. I actually really liked this game. A Plague Tale, created by French-based studio Asobo Studio, is getting a TV show. I saw this article pop up, and I'm not gonna lie, I physically face palmed a little bit.
See, my problem is this: like, I got excited because I really like the story and the world of A Plague Tale, but it's just one of those like, and I think I'll feel this way more after we do the Halo show.
Right.
But like they're not going to do it justice. I guess you could also argue too, like at least these game or videos, movies and shows based off of video games, at least they're not as god awful as some of the ones we got in like the 80s and the 90s, and they're getting better.
Did you see the new Resident Evil movie?
I didn't. So.
It's probably worse.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay, maybe I should have said that.
Yeah,
but I think
bad.
what's
the new Doom movie that came out like a couple years ago, the Mortal Kombat movie flopped its ass off. Like, it's not a good place, man. It's not a good landscape for video game adaptations.
It wasn't awful.
Okay, I didn't see that. But I never played Uncharted, so
it wasn't. I have opinions on it, but I didn't hate it. I think what it is, and this is common with books or games or anything, like any media that isn't film once they bring it over. There's no respect for the IP, which I think is going to be the biggest argument that I have when we watch Halo, just from what we've read in the show. So, like
Yeah.
the I think if they could do this right, I'd be excited and I would enjoy it. But that's a big if.
I'm not see, and that's what I'm curious about, is that like I'm not really that excited about this because I mean the game wasn't even really that long. Like the game story was pretty good, but I don't know why it needs to be adapted into an entire TV series, a movie
I
maybe,
know,
so that
cash
you can,
money, bro.
yes, you can sell subscriptions to probably Paramount
Oh God,
Plus
if
or
this
some
comes to
bullshit
Paramount
like that.
Plus,
Yeah. You could sell
uh,
subscriptions to some bullshit streaming service to cash out on, having a 10 episode series that gets released week after week after week, like
yeah.
Halo. But that's what
Again,
I mean. That's why I
I
have to face palm this, because it's just like, come on, like not again. Like and this was coming off of the news. And I might as well just mention this here. This is coming off of the news that there's a new Resident Evil TV series in the works. And I was like, dude, come on, that horse is just rotting right now. Like, you don't need to keep beating that thing. Like, you don't need
did
to
you
beat it
watch?
anymore.
I guess I should maybe walk back to those words because I just remembered I did see the new Resident Evil movie. Did you watch that yet?
No, I didn't want to. Yeah.
Let me say it's better than Doom Annihilation, which you referenced.
Yes.
That was, like sometimes there's good movies. Like to me, like the original Doom movie wasn't great, but it's a fun, like have some friends over, order some pizza, have a couple beers and
Some of these
enjoy
movies
just a
aren't
fun
even
time,
like
right?
fun. Yeah.
Doom Annihilation is like have a lot of beers,
And you might have
and
fun.
get drunk and yeah. Uh Resident Evil, the movie, when my buddy and I went to see it, it got a lot more fun when we were probably about a third way through. I forget what it was. Something just dumb happened, and we both looked at each other. By the way, we're the only two people in the theater. We looked at each other. We realized it's that kind of movie, and then we just started talking. Like we're just like sitting there going like, like just talking throughout the movie, laughing, poking fun at things, face
Yeah.
palming. And it was just like,
It's just a
then
crappy
it
movie.
got more enjoyable. I think it had a lot of things that could have gone well for it, but it was just not good.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't want to see that happen to a Plague Tale. I like a Plague Tale. I thought that was a really nice, charming story. It was a good, and it was a solid game. It was one of my favorite book clubs that we've done so
Mm-hmm.
far.
Yeah, we did.
Which,
Yeah.
by the way, next week our book club on Beyond Good and Evil. So,
Yeah.
yep, be on the lookout for that. But yes, so Plague Tale's getting a TV series. They're touting that they have people from Inglorious Bastards who are working on it. I mean, okay, yeah,
It's a
they have
French.
Steven Spielberg involved in the Halo TV series. I don't think that's going to make it good either.
Yeah. I'd almost argue, I bet it probably made it worse, but
Who
we'll
knows?
see. We'll see. You're gonna
Yeah.
have a couple extra bonus episodes of us talking about it. We'll see what happens.
I'm gonna need alcohol for Thursday. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're optimistic. You're thinking that this could be good.
It's the whole like it's that it's kind of like with the Halo TV show. I always was like, especially reading about it before we started getting more information and more trailers for it, was like, I don't have a good feeling about this, but it's a property that I think would do well on this medium if done right. So I'm hopeful for it. I want it to be good. But realistically, yeah. I don't know if it's a good thing to be potentially excited about, but A Plague Tale was developed, as you mentioned, by Asobo Studio. It's a French studio. They got a French director, and I think a French. Did I put it here? Or was it in the article?
Yeah, I think it's all they're really
It's going to
leaning
be
into the French.
yeah. So maybe French
It's
cinema
very
is going to make it better
culturally
than
French. Yeah.
yeah. So maybe going through a French cinema there instead of
Like some of the
Hollywood
Hollywood garbage.
might be good.
I
The
mean,
only potential downside there, and I'm not complaining, I'm just lazy, is if it's in French, then I probably would have to read the show.
yes.
Right? I don't know French, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that is my hope too, is that they're not trying to just make this for like a general audience. What they're trying to do is just retell the Plague Tale story in a live medium, because I think, like I said, the story was pretty good. It was it was a great it was a great game through and through. I really, really liked everything about it, and I don't want to see that get knocked down a peg because they just couldn't help themselves and had to adapt it into a TV series.
My vote is that Tom Holland should play Hugo.
There you go.
I'm kidding. That would be awful. But he's in everything now.
I know. We'll just put Tom Holland in it. No, he'd be the he's older. He's too old to be Hugo. He'd have to be
Yeah.
the like one of the thieves or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Like the brother and sister thing going on.
Maybe
the
he
other
could be the
brother.
happy. What was it?
Yeah.
The Inquisitor? Wasn't he kind of the bad guy that chased you? Wasn't that the
Oh,
name of the?
yeah.
He could be like.
Maybe.
Obviously, he'd be a quippy, happy Inquisitor. Always taking his helmet off too, so he can talk to you and gonna get you, Hugo and Amicia.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for today. Like the TV shows, man, they're killing me here. But
I want them to be good because it'd be fun to experience some
Mhm.
IPs like that on
On the
film, on
screen.
television.
I guess. But as it currently stands, I'd rather just play through the game again because that's probably going to be a lot more fun. Anyway, wrapping all that up, this is where we close out the episode. Thank you very much for listening through our spiel about TV shows and studios being weird and games that are tanking in reviews and all that. We really do appreciate it. Be sure to be on the lookout for our review of the Halo TV series as we cover that week to week. We're going to do our best not to shit on it too hard, but I mean, we're going to work with what we got. Okay.
We're only human.
we're only human. So be on the lookout for that. That'll be coming the following Wednesday from when this airs. So I believe that is March 30th. March 30th will be our first Halo TV series episode. Besides that, we have our book club coming up next week. So it'll be we'll be doing our thoughts and impressions on Beyond Good and Evil. We'll be also announcing our next book club for the month of April, which I think we still need to select one. So if you got a good idea, be sure to post it on Discord and let us know what you would want to play with us. So with that said, we're going to close it out here. Be sure to go to our website, campfiregamingpodcast.com, join our Discord so that you can chit chat with us about the book club stuff or anything that we've talked about here today. And be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at CampGamePod. With that said, it's been a pleasure hosting for you today, and we'll see you next time around the campfire.